And we continue at 2:06 in the afternoon on the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wang is back in California.
You know, John, every morning as I scroll through my phone doing a Google on the YouTube for all the stories that we're going to talk about on the show, I occasionally will find something, and I think to myself, yeah, Johnny's definitely going to want to talk about that.
President Trump says he is weighing whether to revoke the U.S. citizenship of Rosie O'Donnell.
Oh, my God. Now, I know my birthday is in January, but if anyone, namely you, President Trump, wants to give me an early birthday gift, I would gladly accept that. Although, if we make sure that she stays in Ireland, they might declare war against us. It's a possibility. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. It is our pleasure to welcome our next guest to the program. He is the former lieutenant governor of the state of South Carolina. He is also now a declared candidate for the United States Senate, running against longtime incumbent Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, who has been in the United States Senate since Hector was a pup. And right now, Andre Bauer is trying to retire him. You can find him online at andrebauer.com and follow him on X at Andre Bauer SC. Lieutenant Governor Andre Bauer, welcome.
Hey, John.
Well, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you for having me. How are things in California?
Well, things are actually okay unless you're having your car stolen and used as a battering ram to rob a 7-Eleven, but that's a different conversation for a different day. Let's talk about our governor, Gavin Newsom, traveling to South Carolina, where apparently he bounced around from county to county, including Marion, Chesterfield, Marlboro, Lawrence, Pickens, and Florence, and other counties where he sat down at diners and frequented black churches and met with elected officials and movers and shakers, where he wanted to tell the people of South Carolina that they should be more like California and that the politicians in South Carolina were failing them and the politicians in Washington, D.C. were failing them. And if only they could be more like California, their lives would be improved. Your response to what Gavin Newsom had to say.
Please don't bring that stuff here. We a Democrat in South Carolina could run as a Republican in California. Whatever he's selling, we're not buying. Quite frankly, he's about as popular here as an ICE agent at a flea market. We just his former liberal doesn't even exist in South Carolina. That product I can't imagine anybody having an interest in. He's just at a different level. We're not there. South Carolina is still a conservative state. Quite frankly, we haven't had an elected statewide Democrat since 2006, and we have 7 members of our congressional delegation, and only one's a Democrat in Jim Clyburn. So, pretty heavy Republican state. You got to really search to find Democrats in South Carolina. They meet in a phone booth. But good luck. Spend your time here. I hope you spend a lot of money while you're here. But he's fishing in a pond that ain't got a whole lot of fish.
What kind of hubris do you think it takes for someone like Gavin Newsom, where we live here in California, where we're dealing with the homeless crisis, the out-of-control crime, the insurance crisis, where many of us are being dropped from our policies. We can't buy insurance because the state screwed that up. The fire mitigation is obviously failing at every turn. Our budget is upside down. Our bullet train is a complete national laughingstock. It doesn't matter what subject you talk about, he's failed. There isn't much that you can point to and say, okay, well, Gavin may have failed over here, but he did a good job on that. To have that record and to think that not only do you deserve a promotion, because he obviously wants to be president of the United States, but to go into another state, a state that is better run than California, and try to wag your finger at them, that seems like someone who's just not mentally with it.
Look, we've got a balanced budget in South Carolina. We believe in firearms here. We believe in rounding up illegals. I mean, we're at a different level than where California is. So he's got a hard sale here in South Carolina. They just, even at a Democrat level, there's a lot of Democrats that will resonate much better than him in South Carolina. Joe Manchin would do okay here, at least at the Democrat side, but the extremes don't exist here.
We're speaking with Andre Bauer, the former lieutenant governor of the state of South Carolina, candidate for United States Senate, running against Lindsey Graham, the incumbent in the Republican primary. You can get him online at andrebauer.com. Now, Andre, we just saw in the United States Senate a very close vote on Build Back Better. Most votes that are regarded as controversial are votes that are very, very close. And one of the things that I think upsets a lot of people is that you have states that are regarded as being solid red, heavily Republican states that have incumbent senators, current senators, whose votes are always votes that need to be wrangled, votes that are never safe votes, votes that you can't ever count on. And we know, for example, that Susan Collins up in Maine is one of those votes, but Maine is a very purple state, so I think people give her a lot more leeway than they would for some other members. But Lisa Murkowski in Alaska, a state that's a heavily Republican state, people pull their hair out when they have to convince her to vote with the caucus. Your state, the state of South Carolina, is a blood red state. Lindsey Graham has been there a very long time. His political mentor in the United States Senate was John McCain. John McCain was known for bucking the party and voting with Democrats quite frequently. Lindsey Graham does the same. When you campaign throughout the state of South Carolina, is there a frustration that exists that, given the fact that you are a heavily Republican state, that you do have a member in the United States Senate that frequently votes with the Democrats and doesn't vote with the Republican caucus?
Very frustrating. He's more John McCain than John McCain. And it's really, if you look at it, he's gotten a pass all these years. Keep in mind, he ran on term limits in 1994, the year that O.J. made the Bronco famous. Pulp Fiction was in theaters. I mean, we're talking a long time ago, and he ran on 12-year term limit. Well, he's 19 years past being overdue. He also ran on reducing spending and reducing the budget. The budget was $4.9 trillion. We're now at over $36 trillion. So $1 trillion a year is what we've gotten with Lindsey Graham. And so all that, warmongering, I mean, you name it, liberal Lindsey's been there to spend more money, to not inform me. Keep in mind, amnesty, that got renamed Gramnesty. He was so big on path to citizenship. And so everything that South Carolina believes, he votes the other way. Now, election time, he'll change just enough to not get an opponent. And the few times he's gotten an opponent, the last time, the largest fund that his opponent raised in a primary was $745,000, where he had over $100 million. So, and it was somebody with no name ID. So, of course, the outcome there before it gets started. But, if he were a NASCAR driver, there wouldn't be a spot on his uniform for the big boys not to be sponsors. And that's how he shuts it out every single time. Sadly, he raises enough money that it keeps good folks out. And there's a lot of qualified people that would do a great job representing us in Washington, but he's not one of them.
One of the things that Lindsey Graham constantly does is advocate for more war. It doesn't seem like there's ever been an international military conflict that he doesn't want the United States involved in. When you go back to that 2016 primary for president, you had a matchup between then-candidate Donald Trump and a wide field of candidates. I believe at the time, Jeb Bush, the governor of Florida, was regarded as the establishment favorite. The election in South Carolina came down to the war in Iraq. Was it a mistake? Was it something that we should have done? Jeb Bush played the role of Lindsey Graham, who was in favor of the war and believed that criticism of that war was out of bounds, that the war was a success, that President George W. Bush did what he needed to do, and those who were criticizing then President George W. Bush, or former President George W. Bush, in the Republican primary were out of bounds. Donald Trump took the opposite position. He said that war was a mistake, that war was horribly mismanaged, and if we could do it over again, we would be crazy not to do it differently. People thought that that's where Donald Trump would hit a brick wall, that South Carolina would be the state that ended his quest for the presidency. The opposite was true. He won in South Carolina and then went on to win the Republican nomination and then the White House. When you look at your matchup with Lindsey Graham, I see a lot of similarities to that 2016 Republican primary in South Carolina, where you have the warmonger against the person who wants to try every other available option before going to war, and only going to war if it's completely necessary. Do you see similar aspects to this race, to that 2016 Republican primary?
Absolutely. We are a very proud military state. However, we don't want to shed a drop of American blood on foreign soil unless it's in our best interest. These foreign wars, these military conflicts, the president performed an almost flawless, I guess it is a flawless strike in Iran. And before the jets were even cool back at home, Lindsey Graham was on the floor of the United States Senate. And he had a quote on the news show that said, our boys and girls would be willing to risk their lives for regime change in Iran. Well, I wholeheartedly disagree. Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Ukraine, you name it, he hadn't found a war he didn't want to engage in. And it's not him over there, and it's not only our lives, but it's our resources, and we continue to do it. And I am just sick of it. I want to see us do everything we can to stay out of these conflicts. John, do you know we have over 800 military bases around the world, not on U.S. soil? Is that not insane? We lost 2 bases in South Carolina during the Brack Commission. So we cut out bases here that were employing South Carolinians and protecting our coast, but we left them in other countries. We've got over 46,000 troops in Germany, over 36,000 in South Korea. Should we not reassess where we have bases, where we have folks, and look at downsizing, look at bringing those people home? It just seems to me we have gotten way lost our mission, and we can't afford it. We're letting other countries buy up our farmland and buy up land right around our military bases, and we don't have money. It seems insane. And one of our leaders in the Senate, the chairman of the budget, would still not want to fight for things like doing away with giving goods and services to illegals, to make sure instead we give it to veterans and our own citizens. It's crazy to me.
One of the subjects that you brought up is a good one, and that is Lindsey Graham's advocacy for amnesty. He has been a supporter of amnesty for illegal aliens for quite a while in the United States Senate, and was really one of the leading voices in the Congress when George W. Bush was pushing for it back when he was president. We know that Donald Trump has been elected to the White House 2 times. He is now termed out of office at the end of this term. He cannot run for re-election. He's barred by term limits. That means someone else will be president when he terms out. It could be a Republican, which could be Marco Rubio or J.D. Vance or somebody else. It could be a Democrat. It could be Kamala Harris or God knows AOC, whoever it is that they decide to nominate. Whenever you get nominated by a major American party, it's basically a coin flip as to whether or not you'll win. What we do know is that someone different will be president when he's termed out of office. Given the fact that the Republican Party was largely pro-amnesty before Donald Trump, when Donald Trump leaves, someone new will be there, and they may or may not have the same position on the border and immigration as Donald Trump. Do you fear that if Lindsey Graham is not replaced now in what is regarded as a safe Republican seat, that he will then go back to pushing amnesty like he did before Donald Trump and will try to get it through after Donald Trump leaves?
Absolutely. Trump has kept them at bay. Trump has kept them a little more conservative, and the election has kept them more conservative. But as soon as Trump's not there, he's going to go back to being regular old liberal Lindsey. And we've got a chance not only in South Carolina, but in Texas, for example. We've got so many of these folks that aren't really conservatives, and they're darn sure not MAGA. They just get along, play along to get along, and they vote with Lindsey Graham in 2022 voted with Joe Biden 70% of the time. He confirmed Sotomayor. He confirmed Hillary Clinton. He confirmed Kerry. I mean, these people are teaming up. He said Joe Biden's one of the finest men you've ever met, and if you don't like him, something's wrong with you. You can pull it up on he was on video, right? They did a video about it. He said Nancy Pelosi was a nice person.
What do you think Donald Trump thinks about Lindsey Graham? I know that Donald Trump has endorsed him for re-election. We knew that would happen when Lindsey Graham gave him his vote on Build Back Better. But given the fact that the two men have very different worldviews, what do you think Donald Trump actually thinks about him?
Google it. He's called him a jackass. He took the floor on January 6th and said, it's been a good run. I'm done with Donald Trump, and wanted to invoke the 25th Amendment, which meant Donald Trump would no longer would not be president today had Lindsey been able to do that. He called him a xenophobe, a homophobe. I mean, you go down the list. He ran against him in 2016. He's called him every name in the book. But again, he's run back to the home base when he realizes he needs him. And, of course, Trump needs him too. So, sometimes it's so discouraging here in South Carolina of what we get out of Lindsey. Tim Scott votes right. Lindsey doesn't. And so he's played the game that's made him very powerful in Washington. But in South Carolina, he sure isn't speaking for the people here that vote for him.
Andre Bauer, former lieutenant governor of the state of South Carolina, candidate for the United States Senate in the state of South Carolina in the Republican primary. If you'd like to learn more about Andre or give him a campaign contribution, whatever the case may be, you can get him online at andrebauer.com. That's andrebauer.com. And you can follow him on X at andrebauersc. Andre Bauer, thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you for having me. Y'all have a blessed evening.
If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, with the end of the show approaching, if you want to continue listening to us after we sign off at 3, that's easy to do.
All you got to do is search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts.
Quite frankly.
Whether it's the Apple Podcast app.
Quite frankly.
The iHeartRadio app.
Quite frankly.
Spotify.
Quite frankly.
Search for The John Phillips Show. Hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes.
Quite frankly.
You could do a Google on the YouTube.
Quite frankly.
You can get the KABC app.
Quite frankly.
You can get the KSFO app.
Quite frankly.
In fact, there are many ways to listen to The John Phillips Show whenever you want, and that's the last time today I'm telling you.
That's your final warning.
Coming up next, we're going to talk about a woman in San Jose that keeps getting Chinese Amazon packages sent to her house.
I was hoping that you didn't forget about that story. It's a good one.
It reminds me of a family friend who lives in Riverside County. And whenever you get a Section 8 housing unit, I guess they put a sticker up there where if something goes wrong, you call the number. Well, there was a misprint one year, and instead of putting the correct number on the sticker, they put our family friend's home number on the sticker.
Oh, no.
So her phone rings off the hook nonstop, and she's a regular cruiser. And when she comes back from a cruise, you have 900 messages. But she's afraid to change the number because she's had the number forever. Well, Randy, there's a person in San Jose who is experienced something that probably has them very confused.
And that is because, for some reason, her address is the address listed for a Chinese-made car seat company on Amazon for returns.
So this single-family home is now the recipient of every Chinese car seat that's being returned for being defective.
Yes. And there are several because it's a Chinese-made car seat.
Oh, dear.
For more, here is ABC 7 in the Bay Area.
Been hell.
And you've never once ordered one of these car seats?
Not once, no.
We laugh because we care.
Yeah.
In a 7 on Your Side investigation, an Amazon nightmare.
It is linked to an online seller overseas that appears to be violating Amazon's return policy.
Yeah, 7 on your side, Stephanie Sierra investigates.
Over 100.
Kay Holton is utterly confused as to why hundreds of these large Amazon packages keep appearing on her San Jose doorstep.
Hundreds.
What do you do if all of the sudden you have Amazon delivery after Amazon delivery after Amazon delivery for child car seats that you didn't order?
She says it's been nonstop for more than a year.
It started with one package, and I was like, it's got my address, but it's not for me. And I went to my neighbors, and I was like, oh, did somebody accidentally put the wrong last digit on the address? No, nobody knew what it was.
The mystery shipping spree that's now haunting an entire half section of her carport.
And what you see now...
She just starts stacking them.
Well, what do? Maybe she should start dumping them in Oakland.
And what you see...
She's thought about it.
And what you see now is a fraction, because I have refused delivery on more packages than you see here.
Inside each...
Every day the postman comes with another box and she says, nope, I'm not signing for it.
That's got to be a never-ending hell.
Inside each one, a set of faux leather car seat covers from a Chinese online seller called Liu Sandandien. The online seller's Amazon listing advertises the brand Etkin seat covers supposedly made to fit various makes and models of sedan and SUV cars. But as you can see in hundreds of these...
You know, it just shocks me. I mean, I know it's such a massive platform, but how many people waste money on shoddy crap from China on Amazon?
Yeah, if you buy something cheap and it doesn't work, why do you even bother sending it back? Just throw it out.
But as you can see in hundreds of these cases, the covers did not fit, and consumers said they were forced to pay out of pocket to return them to the company's so-called return center.
Which was her house.
I wonder if someone in the company had something against her, because if she's your ex and this is the way you're getting back, it's creative.
So this is like the 2025 version of ordering 40 pizzas for the neighbor that's pissed you off?
Who was it? Wasn't it Elaine, whose phone number on Seinfeld was very similar? Oh, no, it was Kramer's. That was similar to the movie line where you could call up and find out what time the movie starts.
And then he just starts doing it.
Like this person who commented, "Why haven't I received my refund? Was sent through UPS 3 weeks ago." Yet little do they know, they're just piling up in Kay's garage.
Oftentimes, the amount it costs to return it is about more than 50% of what they paid for it. So they're just like...
The online seller put Kay's address on their return labels, leaving her...
I think they just picked a random house in San Jose.
Wait, and they printed it out on the labels and sent that to the customers?
Yes. So the customer wants to return their crappy car seat cover, and the Amazon page says, here's the address to ship it to, and then they ship it.
Okay, this is malicious.
The online seller put Kay's address on their return labels, leaving her stuck in this mess. She says she's contacted Amazon countless times to try and resolve this over the past year, including filing 6 complaint tickets.
And every time I was absolutely assured, this will stop. You won't get any more of these packages. You'll hear from us within 24 to 48 hours.
Nope.
Yeah, wasn't true.
I think she needs to call Jeff Bezos.
Nope. She says each month they just kept coming, blocking her driveway, mail carrier, and doorway.
If you ever thought how big Amazon is, think of how many people are buying the same random car seat cover and returning it on a daily basis. That's how much of a behemoth Amazon has become, that hundreds of the same random-ass item keep appearing on her lawn.
Well, can't Amazon just say to the company, we're not doing business with you anymore?
They don't care. They get a cut of every sale.
She says each month they just...
Amazon's such a monster of a company. They really don't even care if if you say you want a refund and you want to return it, they don't care up to a certain dollar amount that you actually return the item. Sometimes they're like, oh, just keep it. Because it costs them more just to ship it back.
She says each month they just kept coming, blocking her driveway, mail carrier, and doorway, making it hard for her 88-year-old mom who's disabled.
We came home and it was like this. Couldn't even get my mother in the house. It's just been another form of hell.
And to make matters...
This poor lady.
Imagine the 88-year-old. What are you going to do, Mom? I'm going to go for a walk. Okay, be careful.
Don't trip over the 150 boxes in the front porch.
Yeah, that's got to be like an obstacle course.
And to make matters worse, she says Amazon put the onus on her to fix the issue.
How does that make any sense?
Yeah, she's the victim here. She didn't give out the wrong address.
Suggesting she give them away, donate them, or take them back to USPS or FedEx.
Yeah, see, this is what Amazon does. They don't even want the product.
No. How about this? You have a great big homework assignment. That's how we're going to fix this problem.
I love that they suggest give them away to a friend. You imagine what it's going to be like at Christmas time? Everyone's getting a shoddy Chinese seat cover.
Merry Christmas.
Suggesting she give them away, donate them, or take them back to USPS or FedEx. According to Amazon's policy, international sellers must issue a returnless refund or provide a prepaid international returnless shipping label within 2 days of the return request. If sellers don't respond within that time frame, Amazon may refund the customer on the seller's behalf and charge the amount to the seller's account.
Yeah, but do they actually do that in practice?
Sounds like they don't.
That means Leo Sandandien would have to lose all proceeds from the sale or pay return shipping to China. Pretty pricey. So instead, consumers get stuck with the bill.
More than 40% of this online seller's Amazon reviews list a 1-star rating, and unlike other companies...
Okay, once again, I just have to ask, who is buying a Chinese-made seat cover with a 1-star review?
People who are very, very cheap. And by the way, if you knew how Randy and I actually lived, hearing the two of us call someone else cheap is really special.
More than 40% of this online seller's Amazon reviews list a 1-star rating, and unlike other companies, this seller has no way for consumers to contact them if an issue like this comes up. Not to mention, there's no trace of this business online.
7 on Your Side asked Amazon what they're doing to resolve this and if there's any vetting process to determine companies selling on their...
Let's not forget, this is the same exact company that had no idea somebody was selling stolen makeup from Sephora and Ulta in San Diego under an online store on Amazon called The Makeup Store for a decade.
7 on Your Side asked Amazon what they're doing to resolve this and if there's any vetting process to determine companies selling on their platform actually are who they say they are. The tech giant...
They don't care because they get a cut of every sale.
Oh, no. I wonder how many ended up in her driveway today.
The tech giant told us, "We'd like to thank ABC 7 on Your Side for bringing this to our attention. We've apologized..."
I love just the way the world works. This woman called Amazon and sent them emails for a year, and they didn't do anything about it. They get the local news involved, and now Amazon's got their hands up. Oh, we're so thankful that you brought our attention to this matter.
That's how you have to resolve these things.
We've apologized to the customer and are working directly with her to pick up any packages while taking steps to permanently resolve this issue. And finally, after a year of waiting, some good news for Kay. This morning, Amazon staff finally removed all the packages on her property, vowing to crack down on these practices.
Now, what do you think they did with all of them?
Dumped them off at the neighbor's house?
Or Oakland?
Vowing to crack down on these practices.
And I am so eternally grateful that you guys are here for us, because reaching out to you, I was in tears that somebody actually got back to me.
And now she can finally back into her own carport.
Yeah, until the Amazon delivery van comes by for the day.
For 7 on Your Side, I'm Stephanie Sierra, ABC 7 News.
You know, I think there's some pain and suffering here. I bet you every time one of those blue vans circles her neighborhood, she gets trauma.
Oh, yeah. She probably hits the floor. Like the Jehovah's Witnesses are there.
It just never ceases to amaze me, the crap that people buy online.
And, Randy, there are big changes coming at the airport.
It's been almost 20 years, but finally, you don't have to take off your shoes in the regular TSA line.
Thank God. Because we haven't had to do that in the pre-check line for quite some time.
The era of airport security theater is changing. For more, here is a report from KPIX in the Bay Area.
Well, pretty soon you're going to be able to keep your shoes on at the airport. CBS News has confirmed the TSA is phasing out its nearly 20-year policy requiring airline passengers.
This today, tomorrow, you can bring more than a tiny, tiny, tiny tube of toothpaste.
Thank God, because if there's anything that the world needs, it's more toothpaste and more deodorant. And right now they confiscate it.
Requiring airline passengers to remove their shoes at TSA checkpoints. The plan getting a slow rollout at several airports across the country. We checked out SFO this morning where the shoes stayed on.
I think it's great, especially when I have my flip-flops on. My feet don't have to touch the floor.
No.
Which airline do you think she's flying?
Sounded like Frontier.
I'm guessing Southwest.
If you go to an airport with flip-flops and you're letting your bare feet touch an airplane, there's something wrong with you.
Those airplanes are really not cleaned that thoroughly that often. Just let that sink in.
I think it's great, especially when I have my flip-flops on. My feet don't have to touch the floor.
I hope that was a one-way ticket.
Yeah. I wonder what kind of fungus she ends up with.
I'm okay with leaving shoes on. I think it'll speed up things a little bit.
I think it's great to speed things up.
They asked me to take...
See how nobody's even worried that, oh no, are we going to be safe?
Well, here's my response to that. You look at the security at the arenas and the stadiums and all the places that we go to for concerts and sporting events. They have technology that's there that doesn't even require you to take your keys out. And you don't have to go in one at a time. You can have an entire crowd just go in at once, and they keep an eye on who's walking through and what you have on you. In fact, that's what Janice wants to put into public transit.
Yeah, good luck doing that on all the buses.
But if it works at the sports stadiums and it works at the arenas and they sign off on it, and we haven't had any incidents there after they started using this technology, why not use it at the airport? Because anytime they do studies on how many things that the TSA misses at the airport, it's always a long laundry list of items.
If they ask me to take my shoes off, I take my shoes off. No problem with that.
Okay, that guy's got a foot fetish.
You think so?
He likes taking his shoes off. He wants the TSA to watch his feet.
I wonder if he's on OnlyFans.
If they ask me to take my shoes off, I take my shoes off. No problem with that.
I don't want to prejudge anyone, but this sounds like a guy that took the Xanax before he got to the airport.
Yeah, be real careful about that.
If they ask me to take my shoes off, I take my shoes off. No problem with that.
The policy
sounds like Mitch Hedberg.
The policy went into effect in 2006, several years after Richard Reed tried to blow up an American Airlines plane with explosives hidden inside his shoe. His attempt was unsuccessful, but pointed out a weak spot in security screening measures.
And for 20 years, everyone had to take off their shoes unless you paid for global entry.
And by the way, he wasn't successful at taking that plane down. The flight attendants and the passengers and everyone did what they were supposed to do, and they put down that threat. But the rest of us have been punished ever since.
Well, and you think about the way airline culture has changed over the last 20 years. The fact that you have to take off your shoes, I think, has definitely led to the rise of people going to the airport in their jammies.
Oh, yeah. If there's anything we need, it's a dress code at the airport.
50 years ago, it was suits and ties, and now it's butt cracks and bare feet.
Well, how about on the cruise ships? On formal night, you used to see people wearing tuxedos and the women in gowns. I know of one person, not me, who went on a cruise ship, and it was formal night in the main dining room, and there was a guy in there with a Bud Dry T-shirt and a mullet. And Bud Dry was discontinued over 20 years ago. On formal night.
This is why you go on those ships, isn't it?
Well, first of all, what condition do you think the shirt must have been in if he got that at a gas station 30 years ago? Totally inappropriate.